Welcome back. You're live at Le Mans here on Eurosport. If cars are on track, we are here to hold your hand. And quite frankly, those hands are being put together, and it's eyes to the sky at the moment for some teams. We're seeing us
the category because the last one who we just saw coming in, Jean-Eric Verne, had taken the lead. So it's Senna, Petrov, and Verne, who's in the pits at the moment. Piquet will move up into third. No, Verne's just gone out ahead of Piquet. And then Gomendi, Panciatici, and Ollie Jarvis, who was leading, has now found himself dropped back down to ninth.
40 car there, the shadowing just foxing me. I thought the fuel line was actually still attached. Thank heaven that's not.
That's James Allen, one of the several 19-year-olds in this race.
Yeah, but it's got some real youngsters. Oh, delamination just on the cards here. They're going to have to nurse this one back. Puncture for the 39 car. In it comes.
Front left.
Yeah, Eric Trillier at the wheel. That had a drama, didn't it, in the warm-up this morning? And they're also not looking terribly promising. I can see in the garage you've also got the Ollie Webb by Connor's entry as you look through the Porsche curves now at the struggling 39, and it's slow pace now being warned about as in GTE the battles rage on. Kevin Est versus Antonio Garcia. This will be worth watching. Waiting Kevin Est in number 92 Porsche. Behind Kevin Est is Stefan Mucker in the Ford, who makes his move to the outside line down towards Arnage. Oh, so close. But Antonio Garcia elbows out, hangs onto the place. Kevin Est gets away about another length up the road. Revin Kevin, as John Watson refers to him, he's trying his level best to edge clear. Meanwhile, it's still an Aston Martin 1-2 in that category. They're getting away a little bit.
They are. Well, the suspicion, Mark, was that they had the advantage with Dunlop. Seems to be paying dividends for them. Great battle between the American marks here. It looks like a little interchange on this train as well.
Yep, and Tabiwan Kenobi just asking, were the Fords and Ferraris of 50 years ago racing prototypes the equivalent of LMP1 today? The answer is yes. There were 7 litres for a long time, but then the FIA cut the speeds back. But what you're seeing in GT now is really a resurgence of prototype racing disguised as GT cars, and Ford and Porsche have yet to start mass production of the road versions, which they should do under homologation rules.
Verne versus Piquet Jr., this battle of position. We're talking about the podium here. Early days, of course, but you've got to think deep and indeed set your targets high. These have been in the pits, don't forget, and they're still battling.
Jean-Eric Verne, much underrated French driver, very intelligent driver as well. Nelson Piquet Jr., of course, who had that blot on his copybook from Formula One after the Singapore Grand Prix incident, and he has since then tried to rebuild that reputation. He's tried rallycross, he's tried sports car racing, he's done all sorts of different categories. He is still very quick indeed, and Jean-Eric Verne, currently running third in LMP2, fending him off. LMP2 being led by Bruno Senna for the moment from Vitaly Petrov, ex-Formula One racers both, of course. Then Piquet, Gomendi, Panciatici is the way the order looks. Now, we are not that far away from the end of the first hour, so we're going to be another 3 laps, maybe not quite even 3, before we need to worry about LMP1 pit stops. And it's going to be interesting to see how far Porsche goes relative to Toyota, bearing in mind that quite often in a 24-hour race you'll see the second stops being a little bit longer, a lap longer than the first stint.
Yeah, now this pit stop thing is getting puzzling. Every single LMP2 car has now stopped.
Yeah.
What is going on? As I said, we didn't see it at Silverstone or at Spa. Why are we seeing this here?
Did they all light load for the start? Is that what it was? Do they just want to get away from the GT cars? I can imagine that. But yes, we think possibly putting something in the bank, but they've all gone for exactly the same strategy, if that's the case.
Yeah, nobody, as I can see, has rolled the dice and stayed out there. So was it one team doing it and all the class opposition thinking, oh, we better do the same? I'm surprised if that is the case. Normally, the data engineers stick to their guns. They're not forced into a knee-jerk decision.
And here's the number 9 that was accused of contact early on that did for the Viconis machine.
Yeah, Nicolas Lapierre at the wheel of it, running currently in 5th place. He's 18.3 seconds adrift of 4th place to Timo Bernhardt. There was contact, we understand, on the opening lap, and in he comes. Right, so this is the first LMP1 pit stop. In comes Lapierre, and that is at the end of the 11th lap of the race. Into the pit lane he comes.
Out of 5th place.
Well, this potentially will be out of sequence. It'll be interesting to see what sort of contact marks there are on the machine. Beautiful art shot you're getting here. Super slow-mo. We've got a few of these knocking around, which will be dropping in. Give your ears a rest if of course we shut up. But here we are. Time for a tidy up. I'd love a close-up shot as well to see whether that is. And here is your tyre sequence.
Yeah, this is called RIDF. They have microchips embedded in the tyres, and they can now read off those, the telemetry, and you can see 11 laps on those medium tyres, which is what we were told they would be starting on.
Garcia ahead of Est now in GTE. You've got Richard Westbrook up the road ahead in the Ford. It's still Nicky Thiem from Darren Turner, then Alessandro Pierguidi. But now Richard Westbrook from Antonio Garcia and Kevin Est in the first of the two factory Porsches ahead of Stefan Mücker. It's just an amazing entry you've got in the GT classes. I know we keep saying that it's such a great race and it's such a great entry, but it's true.
Well, class being the effective word, this car looks undiminished, certainly, and it's now out of sequence with Nico Lapierre, so he is part of an alternative strategy. Meanwhile, back in this battle, big defensive move. Wow, door slam shut by Pantiaticcio. I think he's still on board this car. Here we are, and he is indeed. Ollie Jarvis all over the back of him. What a duel, what a battle we've got here, Mark.
Yeah, you can make one move like that under braking, but no more, else you're in big trouble. That was a big cut-off from Nelson there, wasn't it? And Ollie's old enough and wise enough to react to that, but he's going to get by. You watch this is great, and this battle at the moment is for 6th in category.
Ollie Jarvis, he's got an arrow here. Can he make advantage or take advantage of the traffic that are about to hit by the looks of things? Nervous times back at base. I'd like to stay on track for this one, and here we are.
Down towards the right-hand Renarnage they come. 35 is Pantiaticcio. Ollie Jarvis tucked up behind him, former Audi factory driver, now part of Bentley's GT programme, but really loving life in LMP2. They're coming up to the Gulf Racing Porsche that was started from the AM GT category by Ben Barker, and now riding on board in number 38 through the traffic. So they thread their way towards the Porsche curves. Oliver Jarvis here staying right up behind Pantiaticcio.
Well, often it's an advantage if you're chasing coming into traffic, because traffic, as you can see, helps the gap close, and they're aware that there's a battle behind them. They'll let one go by eventually, and then the other has a more of a run, and that's precisely what we got right now. Clever work, but I think that was a bit of a brake test there. The door opened up, and he thought, I'll just back you off first before I go into the void.
Yes, there was a heart-in-mouth moment, or a brown trouser moment or something, wasn't there, for Ollie Jarvis there, as he got very, very close indeed. The race leaders then, currently on lap number 12. Pantiaticcio is still hanging on to that place. Oliver Jarvis, you're looking at his tyre data, coming up over the timing line. Blue flags wave, and through it all comes the race leader, Mike Conway, as we've got coming down the pit lane, number 8 Toyota Sebastian Buemi, and number 2 Porsche Timo Bernhardt at the end of 12 laps.
Mark, all kicking off here.
Yeah, update from Nick Lapierre, took a new nose on the front of that number 9 car, so there was some collateral damage from that first lap. So Mike Conway, Neil Jarni, Sebastian Buemi, Timo Bernhardt, Nick Lapierre were at the top 5, as you said. Buemi and Bernhardt in the pits at this moment.
And Toyota and Porsche bringing cars in on different laps. Yep. So what they don't want, ideally, it may happen during the race because of circumstance, but if they can avoid it, they don't want the cars in at the same time. They want to dedicate effort and have the space to just service one car, then they're not impeded when they release the car, as you see there. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us.
The 24 Hours of Le Mans, in partnership with Rolex.
the highlighted routes.
Kenwood.
They say that the millennial generation will have more than 5 jobs in their lifetime. I think it's really exciting. I'm a blogger, podcaster, and author. I do a podcast episode every week. It's just me with my microphone and I edit it. It's so easy to run lots of programs at the same time. You don't expect to be able to draw on a screen. This Windows PC is so fast. I have a book out. I've had a blog where I write travel features. It's the power of putting your ideas out there and actually not being afraid.
It's the world's greatest motor race.
We do the whole Formula One season in one day.
Unprecedented access to 6 of the teams and the event itself.
When you're racing, it's life. Anything before or after is just waiting.
Welcome back to Eurosport. Here we are now on lap 13 of what could be 400 laps.
Going on in the shortly after peak pressure. Do I really lock the front, or are those lights just scaring me? Because that's why I'm not confident for Verstappen. I know they look like false alarm,
That's the number 1 car of Gianni, complaining about. What did he actually say?
False alarm, I think.
Yeah, false alarm, puncture alarm went off, yeah. So we're just waiting then to see who comes in. Car 88, team managers being called in. Cars are being now told to respect track limits. And as we watch in the pit stop, the number 2 car of Bernard.
Number 1, I think, isn't it?
Bernard's just gone out. Number 1's just come in, yeah.
Yeah, so there's Neil Yanni who blasts away. And we need to factor that in relative to the Toyota stop, because the Mike Conway car had come in as well. And just to underline that it was a low fuel load, Mike Conway did an absolute best middle sector on his in-lap, just to tweak the nose of Porsche a little bit. The By Collies car, incidentally, let me just get this out of the way, that's got an engine problem, we understand, as over the line comes 8 Toyota. So Sebastian Buemi comes through. Is this going to change the order? Toyota will still lead, but we could get the change for second place there. Yes, through goes 8. So Buemi will go ahead of Yanni. We've had the change for second place on the pit stops at the end of that first stint. A little bit ragged there is Conway, and so Buemi already into his stint is about to make a move for the race lead as they come into the Dunlop S's.
Well, I think, are they going to let him go? Well, this is a squeaky moment back at base, I'm afraid. These are, first and foremost, don't forget, they are racers. They may well be in the same team, but they believe it's between themselves. They do not want to take each other out, and Buemi feels like he's got a lot of ground to make up. He's had some bad luck in qualifying, didn't like that at all, had engine issues. They made a full engine change for him. Beautiful as that was, we haven't seen him at his best yet. He's desperate to show us.
And that car had an engine change during the course of the week. Buemi then already into that stint. He's a lap ahead on this stint than Mike Conway, so he knows exactly what to expect on this full fuel load and track conditions and so forth, even though Conway has been out as well. Buemi already into that stint, so he's up to speed. He's not leading from the pit lane. He's right there on the back of Conway. It is a Toyota 1-2, number 9. Nicolas Lapierre 5th. Thanks to all of you that are tweeting and sending messages about the damage on that. I think we're all agreed that it was contact between Lapierre and Ollie Webb right at the very start. Mitchell Adam, former Autosport staffer, has just joined in the conversation, pinpointing damage on that car. Thanks, madam. There's the replay of Mike Conway getting it a bit crossed up going into the Dunlop S's that compromised him. Buemi got the run, but Mike Conway was not having any of that, was he? Because up the inside went Buemi, and Conway says, "Oh no, you don't." Elbows out.
Yeah. Yes, there may well have been a bit of radio advice there. What do you think?
Yeah,
pack it in, fellas.
Yeah, but there's no team orders, of course. But as you know the cliche: never take your own teammate out. That's the golden rule.
Can I just also go back?
Here we go.
Look in the traffic. We'll just get this out of the way.
Yes,
Conway on the inside of the Porsche. He will go through. Right. Keep your eyes on this battle. Let me just dispense with. Remember number 26 LMP2 car, the Roman Rusinov pit lane entry. It was that late call that came into the pits in a rather random way. That has been reported to the stewards for an incorrect pit entry.
Buemi's on the run. He's on a big run here. He's going to spear it right through the centre. Fantastic. Buemi, surely the camera's got to pull back here and just show you. Has he got it side by side? Oh, thank you very much. Clean as, he might say. A teammate is probably cursing at the moment, steaming up inside the visor. But my goodness, Buemi, engine change he suffered, don't forget. He was out there trying to qualify. He's showing us what he can do right now, and he can do an awful lot. And that was fantastic.
He carried huge speed through Indianapolis there, didn't he? We saw that in the Porsche Cup race this morning. You can take those bank corners really quickly if you get it right.
Absolutely superb. And look at the gap already.
Yeah.
Clearly the pace of the field at the moment, and he wants to be there. And he's going to side through traffic. He'll be using the lights on the flicker switch before you know it. And I think everyone now aware that he is coming through. The flagmen doing their job as well. Just a reminder, 2,000 marshals here to help this race take place, including many coming over from Great Britain.
We've got some news from the P2 pits. Apparently it was, here we go, here it is, the pass into Indianapolis. Goes the long way round. into the bank section to the right, then the second bank section to the left. Great move, and look at that. Talk about threading the needle.
Fabulous.
But going back to P2, we are being told that they forecast 9-lap stints around. And racing at Silverstone or Spa.
So the LMP2 battle will rage on, but an awful lot of the result is then going to be on the pit crew, isn't it? Because with more stops, they're going to play an even more crucial part of this.
Now 7 laps down the Baikonur's machine, I'm afraid. Contact early on in this race with the number 9 Toyota, with Nicolas Lapierre at the helm, but of the Toyota that was. I'm afraid Ollie Webb has now 7 laps in arrears. Yes, just confirming that. I mean, it just goes on for them, doesn't it?
Yeah, don't be surprised if they pull that car out.
And also the G Drive Orica, Hirakawa started, that has also been in the pits for a long time and is still there. So there's another one in strife, and we saw Rick Breukers starting from the pit lane. The marker of doom is being prepared in readiness of the first retirements of the race. We don't wish this on them, but it might be happening. The other thing that's interesting me is how well 8 is now going in this second stint. It was running third, remember, for the first stint of the race, and quickly up to second on the pit stops, and then bam, straight through into the lead of the race. It's almost as though now car 8 has been released after a moderately gentle first stint.
Neil Yanni is the man that's trying to keep them all honest at the moment, but it's a private battle between Toyotas out front, and we look deeper back down into the P2 class right now. This is the battle for 4th spot, as you can see. Orica Gibson's engine power, of course, throughout all. But Orica seem to have nailed this. They really, I think they've filled 13 of the top 14 places in first practice, and nothing much changed, to be honest, throughout. Others trying to find something to dial into to get back at them. Right now, they just sail by the lead Aston Martin here. We've got bells 1 and 2, and it's ringing at the moment, albeit Ferrari and Aston Martin. I'm looking at the AM class, by the way. As far as the Pro is concerned, it's Nicky Tim and Darren Turner who are leading for Aston Martin, making a very good account of themselves, and we believe helped by Dunlop contact with the asphalt. The Dunlops are known to operate extraordinarily well at high temperature, and high temperature is what we've had throughout qualifying, and indeed at the start of this race. Not as hot as it could be, and I just underline, we are not declared as a hot race. This is not declared as a hot race yet. Through traffic, well, still plying their trade brilliantly here, the P1 boys, and notably Toyota, of course.
It's a given. You cannot get 2 cars side by side through Arnage, and we had 3 then. And again, 3 as they rush up towards the Porsche curves. On board them with the number 1 car of Yanni. Not quickest man on the track, that's Timo Bernhardt at the moment. He popped in a 3:21 on the last lap. It's Senna right behind them, Petrov, Verne, Piquet, Gomendi and Jarvis. And Piquet has got those 2
track limits,
Jackie Chan cars right behind them.
Where are they? He was dragging, he almost went Dakar there into the sand pit, but managed to survive. Here we go.
This is GTE Pro. They've all come in. Team, Turner, Pierre Guidi, Westbrook, Garcia, Bird, Villander. They were almost joined together on track, so inevitably when one goes for the pit lane, they all follow like lemmings and just go down the pit lane. But they've all done that on a 13-lap stint. Now, I was being told by somebody at Porsche, they reckon they can get 14 laps out of the Porsches. I reckon they'll push it a bit more on that second stint when they've got the data back.
Right. Yeah, maybe. So just remember that 52 minutes. They're stopping after 14 laps, and as we noted, P2 are going to have to stop every 30 minutes. That means 48 pit stops in a 24-hour race.
Gosh, we'll take our break. Back in a moment.
It's the home of endurance racing. To win on my debut 20 years ago was a special moment I'll never forget. To win it 9 times, fantastic. You feel the thrill when you're charging off the Dunlop curve, powering down the Mulsanne straight. The night is the most challenging time. Of course, it's all about exceptional focus and great teamwork. But what you feel is the passion for speed. Le Mans, it's really the ultimate.
has always been about beer and people. And many of us have entered these gates in the footsteps of our parents and grandparents. 258 years ago, we signed a 9,000-year lease. We have a lot more beer to make.
Disney Pixar's Cars 3 sponsors 24 Hours of Le Mans on Eurosport.
15 laps are done in the 2017 Le Mans 24 Hours. It is the 85th edition of this event, and it is a Toyota 1-2 at the moment. Sebastian Buemi is in the lead ahead of Mike Conway, and Porsche running third. Neil Liani fourth, Porsche as well, with Timo Bernhardt's car as we look onto the Mulsanne Straight, where in GTE there are some great battles going on. At the end of 13 laps, the majority of the GTE Pro field all poured down the pit lane, and right now you're looking back from 92 Kevin Estra's car at 51, which is Alessandro Pierguidi. That means that Pierguidi has dropped back a little bit after the pit stops, and Kevin Estra in the 92 Porsche up into the top three within the Pro category. The chief engineer on that car being Adam Hardy, who took Andrew Jordan to British Touring Car success a few years back. And Kevin Estra at the wheel is going to have to go defensive, because Pierguidi makes his move, heading now down towards the left-hander. Is he going to be able to go through in a moment? Let's see. They're side by side. Ferrari on the inside, Porsche on the outside, and Pierguidi dives through on the inside for the right at Indianapolis. He's done it. He'll turn left into the second element now, and that puts Ferrari back up ahead of Porsche.
What a superb exchange. I've seen plenty of that as well. Apologies to you. We've got a tech issue at the moment. We're not seeing our own replay, so if it feels that we're brutalising the pictures, we are trying our best to resolve the situation as we speak. Meanwhile, back downstairs, as you can see, some nervous times. Porsche, though, making a good account of themselves. Toyota, though, I'm afraid at the moment are bossing them on track, but not to the margin that we had thought. Meanwhile, as you can see in the GT class, life's getting interesting as Estre starts to make his move. He's gone past Stefan Mucke and indeed Sam Bird's Ferrari. Mucke on board the Ford. Of course, at the moment, it's a class still being led 1 and 2 by Aston Martin. Ferrari lead the AM class at the moment. Bell ahead of Pedro Lami's Aston Martin. The other Aston, indeed, of Rob Bell, is running in third place.
Yeah, Rob, massively experienced driver, so he's going to play a part in that as well. Driving in the number 90 Aston Martin, the car run by TF Sport. He shares with Ewan Hankey and also Salah Yoluk, who's the first Turkish driver in the history of Le Mans. And way wide there, and kicking up the gravel from LMP2, getting in the way of the GTE battle as well. Over the timing line they come, but that's going to just bring a little bit more dirt and gravel and dust onto the circuit, and also break up the GTE battle. The two cars together a moment ago. Now I've got this LMP2 chassis to try and dispense with as well. The clock ticking on down. We've not yet had a full hour of racing, but Mark Cole, an awful lot has been happening.
Oh yes, I mean, it's been something to talk about every second of this race so far, hasn't there? As we just hit the 1 hour mark just coming up now, and what a great race we got here in Prospect in every single class. I'm looking down at AM at the moment. We got two Bells, 1 and 2. One is Townsend Bell, that's last year's winner for Scuderia, of course, still carrying the same number 62 number, and it was him with Bill Sweedler and Jeff Seagal last year. They've dropped Jeff this year, and they've been joined by Cooper McNeil, who is WeatherTech, and that's, of course, the sponsor of the IMSA series, the parallel series to this in America. But great racing between him and Rob Bell in the Aston Martin, Pedro Lamy in the Aston Martin. So it's very much the same sort of story. It's two Aston Martins against a Ferrari in each case.
And that was there on screen a moment ago, second, third and fourth in replay. That was what we were talking about at the exit of the Ford chicane. LMP2 running wide, and so the Ferrari-Porsche battle rather affected by that, because they had to dart round a rejoining car. So the GTE AM gap, 3.4 seconds first to second, but then Bell, Rob, Lamy and Fernando Reis all running together.
Right, now what you're looking at here, you're looking at our last two stoppers. Everyone, this is Mock in the Ferrari and Al Khabaisi in the Porsche, and they are the last two to stop. Everyone has now made a pit stop.
Okay, third in GTE Pro, Alessandro Pierguidi versus Kevin Est. Kevin, who was a real gun years ago in Porsche Carrera Cup. He had a brief spell as a McLaren factory driver, but has come back to the Porsche ranks over the last couple of seasons. He's always great value, great to work with as well, so the team tell me. And as he brakes now for Mulsanne corner, he will turn his way through the right, and in a moment blast his way up towards Indianapolis, still stuck behind Alessandro Pierguidi. Ferrari fending off Porsche. This battle continues. We'll be back in a minute.
The 24 Hours of Le Mans, in partnership with Rolex.
Disney Pixar's Cars 3 sponsors 24 Hours of Le Mans on Eurosport.
The Mercedes Cup in Stuttgart, tonight on Eurosport 2. Contesting top-notch lawn tennis semi-finals.
This is Le Mans. We're right on the
Hello
hour
and
mark now. 23
to
hours still to go, and it's Buemi and Conway. Toyota 1-2 from a Porsche 3-4. Neil Jani and Timo Bernhardt. It's Bruno Senna leading LMP2 from Vitaly Petrov and Jean-Eric Verne. That's two Formula One drivers tucked in behind the Brazilian. It's Nicky Tim and Darren Turner for Aston Martin at the top of Pro GTE, with Ferrari's Alessandro Pierguidi in third, and it's a Ferrari from two Aston Martins in Ammon. That's Bell and Bell up front there. Very confusing. Townsend, Bell, Rob Bell, one for Ferrari, one for Aston Martin. Everyone's now made their pit stops, David, and we've got another
very, very good opening. Yeah, tight but disciplined opening by everyone. We saw the great talent from Los Angeles, Meneses. He had an issue down in the LMP2 car, in the Alpine car, going off the track very early into Mulsanne corner. And we would like to find out more about what exactly happened.
But we're expecting, I think, the Porsches to be maybe quicker during the hot conditions, and we haven't seen that so far. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. There we see the jump when Jani passes Buemi, and later on during the sequence of the first pit stop, which happened. I mean, Lapierre was in first after 11 laps. It's a bit early. Then we saw 12 laps coming in for the number 2 Porsche and the number 8 Porsche Buemi, and that seems to help him. Buemi, car crew of number 8 Toyota, had a 2 seconds faster pit stop than both the leading Porsche, or the fastest Porsche, and the leading Toyota with Conway, which did a lap later. Yeah. That was crucial because it put him in the hunt for the attack he later launched.
The great thing is that obviously the pit stops are important, how many pit stops, but crucially right now, let's have a look at what kind of lap times the front cars are doing. Yeah. This is the lap times of Buemi versus Conway, should be coming up on the screen now. So at the moment, that's the early data.
That's early data because in that sense the best lap of number 7 was Conway. He did it on lap 3, where you obviously still have a traffic-free lap. Now they're into the 20s, and that bodes well, but particularly these 2 seconds was crucial for the pit stop to get in the toe and getting on the pressure of Conway for Buemi, number 8 car, now to take the lead.
And that's interesting as well, because it was getting quicker, but then obviously this is the race now between the top Porsche in third and the second placed.
Yeah, but it's nothing. I mean, it's the best lap, which was done on lap 3 or 4 when they have a traffic-free, free laps. But 3:18, it's 0.8. It's very, very fast, and it means that there's nothing to play with the manufacturers in that sense. In the heat, we see Porsche performing very well, but Toyota they're a little bit in control, and they are putting that favorite role very much down on the very hot tarmac, which we checked. We checked after. It's up to 47 degrees, and that's pretty hot for the tires and the drivers in these conditions.
Okay, now let's have a look at the battle now between 7 and 8. It should be interesting because, of course, they got very close to each other. Now, as a driver, when you're competing, everyone else on the track is a rival. You want to win. But when you're teammates, do you give them a little bit more respect?
Yeah, you see great respect here coming down to out of the beautiful Dunlop Bridge downhill. And you see Conway go a little bit defensive, going a little bit wide to make sure that Buemi will not attack him into the S's. But here's different. This is down to Mulsanne corner, and It's a beautiful stretch, and you see now Buemi go on the outside. And in that sense, that's respect. Conway knows Buemi where he is in the position he is. He will stay to go around the outside. So it's fair play, respect between two teammates, and not taking any unnecessary risk at that time, even though they are really, really on it. They're going up to 340 km/h, but down here, Indianapolis in, and then you're braking very hard for the second part. So great respect between teammates, and of course, the name of the game, Toyota is more important than you and me right now.
Yeah.
Great driving from both.
Well, we're going to go straight back to the action, of course. We'll be back in about 2 hours' time. Just in one word, what do you think we need to look out for in the next period of this race?
The next pit stop, how far they go. I think they will go to 14 laps, which Toyota did last year and put a lot of pressure on Porsche because they only did 13 laps on the tires.
Okay.
If they can both stretch it, check it out.
Okay, thanks for watching. We'll be back in a couple of hours for Le Mans Coach.
T-shirt, sun cream, flip-flops. Right, let's go.
This looks like a nice spot.
Wonder what the locals are like.
Everything you need for your summer holiday. Turn your back garden into a big adventure. Just add Asda.
Here are a few of the amazing things you get with BT Broadband. You'll get a welcome discount of over 25%. You'll get a super reliable Wi-Fi connection for all your devices. And when you're out and about, you'll get free access to over 5 million Wi-Fi hotspots. It's $29.99 a month for unlimited broadband, including line rental on a 12-month contract. And if you join online before the 22nd of June, we'll also give you a £50 reward card to spend. Unlimited BT broadband with a welcome discount of over 25%. Call 0800 55 2211 or visit bt.com/deals.
Eve only make one mattress, and we believe it's the perfect one. It's made with next-generation memory foam for a cool, tranquil sleep. Simply order online at evemattress.co.uk and we'll deliver it within 3 days. We're so confident you'll love it, we'll even give you a 100-night trial with free return pickup. Eve, everybody deserves the perfect start.
A few days ago, Nick had back pain. He struggled to bend, jump, or crawl. Wow, what happened?
Voltarol provides up to 3 times more effective pain relief than non-medicated gel. The triple effect of Voltarol relieves pain at source, reduces inflammation, helps speed up recovery. Voltarol, the joy of movement. Visit our Facebook page for a chance to win a year's sports club membership. And whatever you want to get back into, get back on track with us.
I'm keeping the furniture.
I'll keep the dog.
What about the beach house?
Lady did a bad, bad thing. Lady did a bad, bad thing.
And what about the beach house?
We'll think about it. Renault Kadjar. Crossover by Renault.
Let's see if you can throw it onto my finger.
That is absolutely incredible.
Right. Good work. Good work. It's all in the throat though, super. Well, you just did that. Teamwork.
Love takeaway. Tap the app today at hungryhouse.co.uk.
Turn a beach towel into a beach hut. Towels from £5. Just add Asda.
Disney Pixar's Cars 3 sponsors 24 Hours of Le Mans on Eurosport.
The 24 Hours of Le Mans, in partnership with Rolex.
Well, just watching before we came back there, Big fight continuing in GT Pro. Pierre Guidi, Darren Turner, and Pierre Guidi getting warnings about track limits, so he's got to watch his pace. This, though, is the 7 car. Mike Conway still leading on the 20th lap of the Le Mans 24 Hours. Here live on Eurosport. His teammate Sebastian Buemi, 0.4 of a second behind him. Here is Pierre Guidi then, just mentioning that. He and Kevin Estre fighting over 3rd place in GT Pro. And as we mentioned, Pierre Guidi getting a track warning. Do that again, you were going to drive through, and that will spoil your race, Carlton. So,
sorry, middle of a biscuit. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You take your sustenance where you can here. Yes, you're absolutely right. We saw him going, well, almost getting it very, very second hand, I'm afraid. But yes, managed to get himself back in. But first proper warning, and there will be a proper sanction. Yep. It'll be a timed stop. Yeah,
particularly for those at the top of the field, like that is. This is big money battle, this. And Kevin Estre doing a great job in the Porsche, trying to hunt him down. Here's the other Porsche, Neil Jani, the #1 car, running in 3rd at the moment. He's only 2.6 seconds off the leader, Conway. So we still have a huge battle on our hands. I mean, that means 2.5 seconds covering the top 3 after 21 laps of the race. First cycle of pit stops around already. Cars coming down through Tetra Rouge so fast. You've got to keep the car tight on the inside. You go wide and wider, and eventually you do what we saw happen to Ollie Webb on the first lap, clattered the barriers after being pushed out wide. P2's then still recycling through the stops, and this car is in at the moment. That is Jean-Eric Verne in the 24 car. Our leader coming in, David Addison, and Jean-Eric, another man coming here from Formula 1 in that Eureka Gibson.
So that car down the pit road. We also understand that the reason Stefan Bucher's Ford pitted a bit early was because he had a puncture, and the next LMP1 pit stop should be in about 2 laps time if we're following the same pattern. Number 9 should be in a couple of laps. Nicolas Lapierre currently running in 5th place. Bruno Senna heading LMP2. Meantime, we're still battling for 3rd in GTE Pro with Kevin Est now back ahead of Alessandro Pierre Guidi. Wonderful fight this, and it's 2 brands synonymous with Le Mans. It's Porsche versus Ferrari.
Oh, and he's getting Guidi as well. Here we go, having a big look. 3 wide coming through here, and well, respect track limits. Sometimes you've got no choice just to avoid the battle here, Mark. What a ding-dong.
But Pierre Guidi himself had to go around that Clearwater Ferrari, but Estre's done it. He's moved up into 3rd place, and it's Pierre Guidi who got the track limit warning. He's very careful this time not to exceed them and block Estre in that mid-engine Porsche. Great move.
Yeah, absolutely fabulous. Look at this, just picking through traffic at the moment. One of the Aston Martins from the AM class just being tagged at the moment. But look at this line here of combat almost, just coming down towards one of the Corvettes and picking his way through absolutely beautifully. I think have they double stopped yet, the 31 car?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they started to cycle through, but haven't they? This is the 31 indeed. Bruno Senna has his 2 stops and is back leading LMP2 at this moment from Piquet, from Gomendi, Jarvis and Verne.
And this double stopping, these half-hour pit stops for LMP2 teams has certainly got the engineering fans interested as well, those that are monitoring all of this. Speedworks LMP3 boss Christian Dick has been watching this, wondering why it's all happening. Which also means the pubs are shut if Christian it just seems to be, doesn't it, Mark, the way that those cars are going at the moment. We can anticipate it every half an hour.
Battle for second, Mark, and Reese under tremendous pressure here. And look at this, the other car's getting involved, and this is the Toyota. Whoa, where did he go with that?
That was Lapierre, and that was oh so close to disaster, because yes, okay, he had to get through the traffic somehow, but he was airborne.
Yeah, he hit a hump there, and that was it. The car was off the road for a moment. No steering effect then.
My goodness, well, he was at altitude for a brief moment. I don't know whether we're going to get a replay of that. Unfortunately, we're not privy to those pictures at the moment, so forgive us if we don't address it. But what a move that was. A rash. I think you're getting into a battle where drivers' eyes are forward and at your peril when it's a line of talent like this who are racing for position. They have every right to race.
Yeah. Absolutely. You can't afford to lose a second, because as we keep saying, this is a 24-hour sprint. And when it's that finely honed, Lapierre knows he's got the speed, but he hasn't got the width of the road. Once he's committed to that side, up comes the front. that could have ended a whole lot worse.
This is a daily
on-board
road, and that is a speed hump. Unbelievable.
There we are. Sleeping policeman. Well, he's awake right now, that's for sure. He got that one. Everyone talking about under trays, presumably. Here we go.
Exactly what damage might be. The
car comes in.
That's Labra coming in with... who's on board that at the moment?
Fernando Reis, still at the wheel of it.
That is Reis.
So he has pitted.
Yeah.
So that releases, therefore, class opposition, as still 62, the Ferrari Townsend Bell heads the class. Now, meantime, Mike Conway, who is back in the lead of the race, has got himself ahead of Sebastian Buemi. Remember, we saw Buemi swing past, so 7 is back in front, and this great inter-Nissan contest between the Toyotas rages on. We're on lap 22, heading down the Mulsanne Straight.
Doesn't like it. Well, there we are. Take it carefully, fellas. The race is still long. For goodness sake. Do you mind? They want to keep the checkbook in the pocket at the moment. This is an extraordinarily expensive business. What's the fee for Toyota? Are we hearing for a season of this?
We're talking hundreds of millions of euros. I better not disclose the figure I was offered earlier on in the day, but it's a not insubstantial investment into trying to win not just the World Endurance Championship, but the Le Mans 24 Hours as well.
Yes, well, if you're looking for how many fingers, it's just one handful. Here we are then, 22 hours and 45. It is an expensive business. They don't want it to get any more expensive, and Buemi at the moment is he's playing devil's advocate, I think it's fair to say.
Look, behind them, 3 seconds behind, there is Neil Jani, and they can't afford to back off, because Jani will be straight onto them if they start following team orders just an hour and 10 minutes into the race.
Okay, so who's the faster man here? Looks like Buemi to me.
Looks like Buemi,
yeah, and he's not being allowed through, so that would be the sensible option, would it not?
But he was ahead, so he's lost that lead. So Mike Conway is here to tell you that he's got some pretty decent pace as well, and he's back in the lead in number 7.
Oh, into the barriers, barrier damage as well, I'm afraid. This will be a flag. They're going to have to repair that, and it's, oh, dearie me, and he's making this matter worse, blocking the track. Let's have a look at it. Oh, tagged.
Shoveled out of the way by the LMP2 car. It's Khalid Al-Kubaisi who's gone into the wall, and was that 26 that the shoveling?
Wow.
Big damage on the Porsche, but that in part was not his fault. Look at it again. He just gets muscled into the wall. Rear damage, front damage.
26 car it was, I'm afraid, that will be held accountable for that. And that, it's not Rusinov, is it, on board the 26? I think it is.
He's in trouble.
Well, started off on P2 pole, don't forget, and now he's on the naughty step, and more than that. Yellow flag, and it may get worse. Let's have a look.
Al-Kubaisi is dragging that car home. That's the whole story of Le Mans. Don't give up, just get it back. He's got a huge amount of damage, but fortunately for everybody, that car was in a position would have been very, very difficult to recover, and he's had the sense to bring it home.
But you've seen the front damage. Now, has that put liquid down on the road? We know how susceptible the fronts of Porsche GT cars are. We saw it in the Cup race this morning. My fear would be you've not only got bits of bodywork on the road, but you've also got liquid as well, and it looks like the G-Drive car ain't going to get back to the pit lane.
But the new generation of the GTs, not the new mid-engine one, the last couple of years, they have the radiator central rather than on the corners like the Porsche Carrera Cuts. But Rusinov then not quite abandoning the car. He can't go that far away from it, else he would be deemed to have given up. So he'll keep in radio contact with the team. They'll tell him what to do. He'll report to them what's there. That's the front of the Porsche, so that's an expensive bit of kit, isn't it? But as
a nice trophy for somebody. But let's see how this happened. Well, you know, Rusinov is going to be declared at fault here, and there'll be a sanction no matter what by the time they get back in here.
Well, that car's already under investigation for its rather wayward entry to the pit lane at the first round of stops, and although we didn't see the actual start of that, it does look as though he just muscled the Porsche out of the way. So big damage to both cars. The Porsche hasn't even made it to its team yet. We'll follow this story when we come back after the break.
Looking good is more important than looking where you're going.
When are you going to do that, then? Is there an event on?
Grand Touring.
Oh, man! Oh, that's to release it, you muppet!
We've only had one minor fire.
Go with me now!
The smallest bar in Amsterdam is run by my husband Jaap. It seats 6 people. But at home, he has over 400 chairs. Chairs with 3 legs, chairs with no legs. I have to shower with chairs and even give up my wardrobe to chairs. But it's worth it. Because every few years, our little bar becomes Amsterdam's biggest.
It's the world's greatest motor race.
We do the whole Formula One season in one day.
Unprecedented access to 6 of the teams and the event itself.
When you're racing, it's life. Anything before or after is just waiting.
Welcome back. Well, there's the naughty step, and then there's, I guess, a bridge too far. And these guys, well, they're sort of looking at all kinds of scenario at the moment. It looks like a tidy up at the moment, and I'm afraid these shelves are going to be relatively empty of kit. There you go. What does that tell you? That's it looks like a complete front end. That's what you get if you start ramming Porsches.
Yeah, but you've got to get the car back first. And of course, the big loser here, apart from Rusinov himself, is Alex Lynn, who came here. He's driving down to drive this car. He's not got in it yet in the race. He's the man coming here from Sebring, having won the 12 hours with the Taylor brothers for Cadillac. And what a great shame for Alex. He wanted to get that double.
Roman Rusinov has already been under censure once for a very strange entry to the pit lane, where he came in not at pit in as such, but over the curb into the pit lane, and that's got the stewards all agitated. And then he has created this slow zone by getting into the back of the Khalid Al-Khubaisi Porsche. Now, it's going to be a long, slow zone because of the barrier damage. The teams are being warned about this. Photographs are being taken, which can then be sent back to race control to assess the damage. So we're not, thankfully, being affected by safety cars, but we will be affected by a lengthy slow zone, which is going to affect the lap times. But of course, with a slow element, might just help a bit on fuel. And already we're seeing the LMP1 cars go a little bit further. Nicolas Lapierre, as an example, did 11 laps on his first stint. Well, he's now done 12. They're sneaking a bit more out of it now.
Yeah, Porsche seem to be on the back foot at the moment, because both Toyotas, the leading Toyotas, have quicker pit stops than Porsche, which is a total reversal of what we saw at Silverstone and Spa this year. So that was an interesting one. Here we go then, just having a look at the damage, but, you know, full marks to Al-Khubaisi for getting that car back to the pits.
Indeed, whereas Rusinov, we have seen, is out of the LMP2 car, and that looked like it was being pushed behind the wall. So as you look at the frontal damage, and I don't like the fact that's going over it, that could be our first retirement in the pits.
I think so.
I was going to say, the G-Drive car, having been pushed behind the barrier, that could be a retirement out on track as well.
Well, you saw as well from the open end there that the radiators, which used to dog the Porsches, but place both sides, they're now more central. And in fact, although that car was a 2-year-old car, it's one of the first to have those radiators centralized, but it looks like both front and rear damage. It may well be chassis issue, and if that's the case, it's game over.
Yeah, the fact they were putting that cloth, the cover over the car, does suggest that it's the day down.
So slow sector still, slow zones at 29 and 30. That's the entrance to Porsche curves, and then about halfway through, cars have to go through there at code 80. They have to be down to 80 by the time they enter the zone, and they must not be exceeding 80 when they leave it. Otherwise, again, penalties everywhere. So this is the G-Drive garage getting ready. They hope they're going to be able to get the car, but unless the car can get back to the pits under its own power, they will not be taking any further part in it. So possibly our third and maybe even fourth retirement of the race, because Ollie Webb's car has not moved since the end of lap 7. As there we are, just a replay of that, David.
Yeah, that's the replay. You can hear the impact into the wall. It was a big hit. I mean, Al-Khubaisi did a very good job of bringing that back down to the pit lane, but 2 big impacts. And there's the replay from the following LMP2 traffic. But Rusinov did 2 corners and then parked it, whereas Al-Khubaisi dragged it, kicking and screaming, into the pit lane. But I'm still intrigued as to know why Rusinov stopped out on track, because he wasn't that far away from the pit lane entry, was he?
Yeah. And incidentally, just picking up, you talked about his illegal entry into the pits. He had actually spun the car right before that happened, and he found himself facing in the curbs, on the curbs, facing the pits. So decided he would drive in. Thank you, Autosport, for that. We're picking up. Thank you also for Daily Sports Car and Sports Car 365, the websites who we're getting a lot of help from, and makes our life a lot easier here in the commentary box.
The incident between Rusinov and Al-Khawazi, perhaps to no one's great surprise, is going to be investigated. So the stewards, and there are plenty of them, are being kept busy. You can see the cars working through the slow zone at the moment. You're on board with number 8, Sebastian Buemi. I'm still waiting for another LMP1 stopper here, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, so Mark Webber, of course, is Grand Marshal. One of his roles as a driver is to be one of the driver stewards, looking at everything that's going on. So he'll have something to say about that, won't he, mate?
Absolutely right, because he knows what he's talking about. Yeah. There you can see the GTE Pro cars arriving at the slow zone. So you saw Estra and Pierre Guidi. There's Richard Westbrook and Sam Bird. Ferrari chasing Porsche.
This is a great battle, isn't it? I mean, this is absolutely thrilling GT, but in both categories again, the green and orange categories. Green for Pro, orange for AM, and Estre and Turner, Pierre Guidi, just such a good show they're putting on. But as you say, it's closed all that up again, and when we eventually get the chance to go yellow, and that green again, that depends on what damage there is to those barriers.
That's Lapierre in.
Right.
So he has now done 24 laps of the race. And therefore he's just done a 13-lap stint.
Very good. So that car is obviously on a very, very good strategy. You know, who knows?
Despite the damage early on with flying bits of the Enzo CLM.
I mean, Lapierre knows how to win this race. He won it with Signatech last year in P2.
So, yeah. And of course, he's the man that was dropped and has been brought back into the fold. So there are lots of deserving causes for a good result.
Yeah,
Stefan Sarrazin is always one I go on about because I think he's a long overdue a win. But Nicolas Lapierre, by way of reminding Toyota how good he was and how he shouldn't have been dropped in the first place, well, he's somebody else that could perhaps be
and basically
justifiable for a good result.
Brought back in because of the third car and to mentor Yuji Kunimoto and Chico Lopez, and anyway,
doing a good job of it.
Right, here we go. This is when the parts they can race on the circuit, not the slow zone. So they pick up again, and
now we understand that Roman Rusinov has been reported to the stewards for driving standards. So I told you a moment ago it was being investigated. Now the stewards are having a look. Right, the lead gap mark has really opened up. It was half a second last lap through, and now it has become much wider. You're on board with 8, which is Sebastian Buemi, and the dot in the distance is Mike Conway. Now bear in mind at the start of this stint that 8 Toyota was ahead of the sister car. Mike Conway was overtaken by Sebastian Buemi, and now Mike has scarpered into the distance.
Yeah, half second lead now, and 6.9 over the third place Porsche, and that is very, very significant, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this one's going to run and run. I mean, it's unusual nowadays at Le Mans for there to be a lap gap between people. And
that's why the gap opened up. Buemi made a mistake and ran wide. Okay, thank you. That explains that. So Buemi at Bullseye corner runs wide,
not quite to the gravel. That was lucky.
Stands on everything, but that's why the gap has opened up. So a mistake by Buemi. There it is from another angle. Close under braking. Brakes too late. Slithers out wide. Rattles over the curb. Avoids the gravel. Back on the ground.
Let's say here and now, Sebastian Buemi doesn't make mistakes. Would that point to a problem with the car? Here's the 26 car then. Rusinov has managed to pick it up. He's got back in the car, and he is now crawling around Porsche curves on that car. He's got a lot of damage to it, but heading for the pit lane, getting out of the way of everyone on the exit from Corvette corner. The walls have been moved back here to make it safer.
Well, yes, except for when he's on track, it seems at the moment. He'll be rushing off to the naughty step, I imagine, and he'll be sitting there for quite some time.
Well, he finally makes the pit lane, so the only good thing you can say about this is he has got the car back, both drivers.
There it is, that's what he did.
Unless, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt for a moment. Was there a brake problem? Was there a throttle problem? I mean, it does look as though it was red mist. As there, in comes 8, Buemi has place.
Well, that was good work by Buemi. I've got to say, there wasn't much room there. Please just respect track limits and vehicles such as this. 3 wheels on his wagon, but about only just at the moment. Here we are, still back and busy with P2 at the moment. Just been trying to resolve a few bits and bobs for you, brother.
He's got broken up a wishbone on the rear. You can see that from the way the wheels bouncing up and down. We saw him getting the rear suspension out of the parts bin at the back. Here he is. He finally makes it into the 26 pit, the G-Drive pit. This car team, of course, not run by Yota this year.
It's going to be a long stop, isn't it? There's number 8 then in the pit lane, which is Sebastian Buemi. Another 13-lap stint has just been offered up by an LMP1 car, so 13 laps done by Buemi. Mike Conway, who has checked out now up front, is staying out there, and you can anticipate he'll be in next time, as again Toyota staggers each car through. We've got number 2 into the pit lane, so the Porsche in at the end of 25 laps. That's a 13-lap stint from that car as well.
Some of the tear-offs here, you'll notice, are opaque. They carry a little bit of a sun visor integral to the windscreen. Gets a bit clearer later on, of course, as we go into night. We'll have that transition for you a little bit later on. They had all the kit ready. He's clearly been on the radio and said basically everything. Yes, if this was a pizza, it would be a deep pan. Let's put it that way. He's just ordered because, quite frankly, there is a job to be done here.
Out comes Timo Bernhardt then. Came in that car in 4th place. We're going to take a quick break. Be back after these messages. Stay with us live on Eurosport at Le Mans.
The highlighted routes.
Kenwood.
Introducing the new Mercedes-Benz E-Class Coupe. Also available with 4MATIC all-wheel drive.
Pirelli tyres, available at QuickFit.
Disney Pixar's Cars 3 sponsors 24 Hours of Le Mans on Eurosport.
Fresh through the slow zone. Worried us for a moment during the break, I must admit. There was a couple of squeaks here. There were other noises as well. But they're through. And indeed, here is our lead car right now. On its marks, it's time for a tidy-up.
And it's another 13-lap stint. So what we're seeing, Carlton, now in this second stint from the cars is that they've got a bit of data. I know they've been helped by slow zones, but they've gone a bit further on a tank of fuel. So we're now looking at number 1 coming in. That's another car that's done 13 laps. That's the benchmark now, 13-lap stint from LMP1.
Now, are they going to look at his brakes? I mean, they've had the brake and tyre engineers there. Did he have a brake problem, or did he just outbrake himself down into Mulsanne? There's the tyres. He's done 26 laps on those tyres. They're going to stay on again, I think, looks like. But wait and see. They're hards, you'll notice.
I did also notice that the clean-up man got very over-enthusiastic there. He decided to go down the side pods as well. He did just about everything. He's not just doing lenses and visors, he's taking flies off the side as well. He's a man with marginal gains in his mind, I think, there, Mark.
Mike Conway stayed behind the wheel of number 7, so he's going to do a third stint. And even though we may not be facing temperatures quite as high as we feared, it's still demanding a lot of the drivers in a closed car because the temperatures have been hot here all week.
Yeah, hard tyres, you notice, on both these cars, which means they can triple stint them even in this heat this afternoon, Carlton, and I wouldn't want to be out there triple stinting.
No, but as you can see as well, or you may see on, particularly as we come off over Dunlop and down on that downhill section, the track has rubbered up amazingly. It almost looks like a conveyor belt upon which they are dicing for the time being. On some of the more wide open sections here, you can't see it, but where the tyres are put under stress, which is where you want your grip, it's like a sticky handball court at the moment. These guys are